Hey guys, Katie here from Equestrian Movement. How are you going? Today I'm jumping on to do a live video to talk to you about one of the questions that we get a bit about how to ride your horse on the bit. So riding your horse on the bit is simultaneously one of the easiest and the hardest things that you will have to do in your riding career. The reason why it's easy is because to get the horse to be on the bit and to flex at the pole is a simple use of pressure release tactics to show your horse how to give to bit pressure. The reason why it's hard is because of the way that the horse has to engage its core and its postural muscles to do it well. And so this gets harder when we start moving. So the same way that we can stand still and we can engage our postural muscles is really easy, but then you tell me to move, then it starts getting a bit harder, and you tell me to run faster or do it while I'm dancing, not to mention the fact that I have two left feet, so it's going to be a bit of a disaster anyway. These are the things that we are expecting of our horse, to be able to move gracefully forward with acceptance of the bit. So the actual teaching the horse what to do with the bit, the acceptance of the bit, how to be on the bit, is actually quite easy. The hard bit is the conditioning that's involved for the horse to maintain it easily and with forward movement. So one of the issues, or there's a few issues that come up with this if you are just focusing on the bit part. The first problem, or one of the problems that will come up, is false flexion. So this is where the horse breaks away at the third vertebrae. So rather than flexing at the pole to bring its head onto the vertical, it flexes behind the pole at the third vertebrae, which puts its head too deep. And so then we get the horse, another problem that we have with incorrect self-carriage while being on the bit is being on the forehand and pulling with the chest and the shoulders, and then them working behind the bit. So you will still get rewarded in dressage tests and whatnot for their horses being behind the vertical slightly, or slightly on the vertical and still on the forehand, but you'll have comments like lacking forwardness maybe, or lacking impulsion and that kind of thing. And that's because you've essentially pulled the horse's head down without learning how to ride them forward through to contact again. So this is the conditioning exercises that are required for the horse to maintain that working frame, that on the bit, while in forward movement. The other thing that the horse will do is we use bend to establish the suppleness for the horse to be able to put its head down in the first place. And so rather than flexing through the rib cage, they will twist through the pelvis or drop the shoulder. And this allows them to be able to put their head down without technically having to engage their postural and their self-carriage muscles. So it further enhances them travelling on the forehand, pulling with their chest and shoulders, working with false flexion, so where they're flexing away at the third vertebrae instead of at the pole, and working behind the bit. So what being on the bit actually is it's between too hollow and too deep. So this is why with a lot of my students and my horses, I say ride them forward, get your hands out of their mouth, and let them be hollow. And then you use your half halt, and you've taught your horse through pressure release how to give to the bit. And in that half halt, they will come behind the bit maybe slightly, or you're just asking them to tuck their chin in. And then you want to ride them forward out of that again. You're using your circle work for suppleness. Eventually, the horse will develop the core strength and the stability of its postural muscles to be able to ride forward into contact, so that when you ride your half halt, they don't come behind the bit, and when you ride your forward, they don't hollow. What happens though is we go, oh my god, my horse is on the bit, this is so exciting, I must never change this, they have to stay there for the rest of their lives because I'm so scared I'm going to lose it. And so in doing that, we end up with them coming behind the bit, we end up with them coming behind the leg, we end up with them going on the forehand. So we have to be comfortable in these first few stages where they're learning how to work on the bit with letting them go hollow again and then bringing them back in and then letting them go hollow again and then bringing them back in. You've got to give them the 12 months to condition their body to that exercise. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to develop the coordination. That's just balance. Asking them to balance with their head down there. You've got 3 to 4 months of muscle conditioning. So that is the muscles that they need to develop to actually hold their head there. We don't want them to hold their head there and not be able to move. We want it to feel natural to them so that they can enjoy moving while their head is there. And then you've got 6 to 12 months for bone and ligament density, so that this environmental stress that we have created becomes part of their conformation and you hop on and they are there. So the on the bit part of it is quite easy. The conditioning part of it is the hard part, so where you're giving your horse the time and that environmental exposure for their body to adapt to it and be able to do it easily. So obviously part of that is you as a rider understanding how to apply the pressure release so that their head can come down, but then also having the sensitivity in your feel to know when your horse has come behind your leg, when it's dropped its hip, when it's fallen out through the shoulder, when it's not moving forward to your hands, when it's not moving forward with throughness. So all of these parts are part of your journey as the rider to learn, so that you can apply these exercises without inhibiting the horse's range of movement. Something that I tell my students all the time is once you figure out how to get your horse on the bit, it's super easy. It's like, well, that's done now, what's next? It's when you haven't figured it out yet, that's when it's hard. And everything's always easy once you figure it out. So you don't want to stress about whether their horse's head is on the bit or not. You want to learn the foundations of how to work the horse correctly into contact. And once you learn how to work the horse correctly into contact, it will come onto the bit. Because the on the bit part is just the last piece of the puzzle of good self-carriage from your horse. Thanks for having a watch. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave a comment. See you guys next time. Bye.